Hello, everybody. Thank you for your patience. It is, what is the date? January 31st, 2017. This is the regular board meeting of the Poway Unified School Board. Thanks for everyone being here. We are coming back at 6:24, let's say. Report out of closed session. Clerk Patel.
Good evening. We went into closed session at 4:35 p.m. The Board of Education took action on the following items in closed session. Number one, in the matter of conference with labor negotiator, there's nothing to report. In item 2, it's been postponed. Is that the proper way to say it? We will have another closed session after this board meeting. We didn't get all our work done. Item number 3. I know, it's horrible. That's how we feel. The wisdom of children. In item 3, in the matter of conference with legal counsel, nothing to report. Item 4, in the matter of conference with legal counsel, nothing to report. Item number 5, in the matter of conference with legal counsel, nothing to report. Item number 6, in the matter of conference with legal counsel, nothing to report. And in item number 7, in the matter of conference with labor negotiator, nothing to report at this time. All 7 items.
Thank you very much. And with that, I invite everyone to stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I note that all members of the Board of Education, including our student board member, are present this evening. For our welcome to the public, Dr. Patel.
Thank you. I get to be on quite a few times today. Welcome to the monthly meeting of the Board of Education. Item C is placed on our agenda to enable members of our community to bring items that are not placed anywhere else on the agenda to the board's attention. If you would like to address the board on any agenda item, please complete a speaker's slip. All requests to speak must be submitted to the executive assistant before the agenda item comes up. If you are requesting an agenda item be pulled for public discussion from Section E, Consent Calendar, a speaker slip must be submitted to the executive assistant now, as approval to the consent calendar is one of the first items up for approval. The board is responsible for setting policy and direction for the students of Poway Unified School District. It is important to the community that civility and good role modeling be a very real part of our meetings. Students are always present at board meetings, and our meetings are live streamed via internet, and recorded copies are posted on the PUSD website. Speaking time is limited to 3 minutes per speaker with a maximum of 15 minutes per side of each topic unless waived by the board president. There will be a 30-second warning when time is running out. Speakers may only speak on one topic under item C and may not defer their speaking time to another individual. Vulgarity and profanity will not be allowed. If you have a complaint or charge against a specific PUSD employee, it is recommended that you submit a formal complaint as outlined in our board procedure 4.106.2. The final step in this process provides the board the ability to hear an appeal of the complaint if the board so chooses. If you're voicing a complaint against an employee, in order to protect the employee's right to adequate notice before a hearing of such complaint and to preserve the ability of the board to legally consider the complaint in any subsequent evaluation of the employee, it is the policy of the board to hear the complaint in closed session. If you have any written materials for the board to review that would provide more specific information, please submit them to the executive assistant. The Brown Act does not permit board action or extend discussion of any item not on the agenda, but your concerns will be referred to staff. With that said, welcome and thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Dr. Patel. Our next item is the approval of our minutes, and we have several to go through. I'll start with January 17th, 2017. Are there any changes, or is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second. On a motion by Mr. Zane, second by Ms. Beatty. Any changes to recommend to the January 17th minutes? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Those minutes are approved unanimously. Next to our January 19th minutes.
Motion to approve.
On a motion by Mr. Zane, second by Ms. Beatty. Any changes to that before we move? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The January 19th, 2017 minutes are approved unanimously. January 23rd, 2017 minutes. I have one change. I'd like to note that this did not take place at the district office in the upper right-hand side, and I'd like to change that to the address where it did take place, and I don't have it on hand. Do you have that? The address? Could you just read it for the record about, because I have the same change for the 25th and the 23rd minutes.
One 11611 Bernardo Plaza Court, San Diego.
Thank you. And those are the changes I'd like to make to the 23rd.
Motion to approve with the changes.
On a motion by Mr. Zane, second by Ms. Beatty. All in favor of approving the January 23rd, 2017 minutes with the one change to the location? Say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And note that I'm sorry, and I should have noted this for the last one too, that our student board member is abstaining from all but the first. She was not in attendance at the closed session meetings. Sorry about that. I should have noted that. Thank you. So that passes unanimously with our student board member abstaining. And for the minutes of the 25th, I have the same change to the address, the same address change. Any other changes?
Motion to approve with the same change.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, on a motion by Mr. Zane, second by Dr. Patel. Any other? And I'll note again that our student board member was not in attendance, so don't vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, it looks then like that passes unanimously, 5-0 as well. Thanks very much. Item A7 is approval of the agenda sequence. Does anyone have any changes to make? Mr. Zane.
Madam President, I'd like to suggest or request that we remove item H1 for this particular board meeting to push it to a future board meeting.
Second.
Okay, so on a motion by Mr. Zane, second by Ms. Beatty. Any discussion of that? Okay. All in favor of moving this item to a future board meeting?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that looks unanimous, but just in case, any opposed? Okay, that's unanimously moved. So H1 will be moved to another meeting. And is there a motion then to approve the rest of the agenda as presented?
Motion to approve.
On a motion by Mr. Zane, second by Ms. Beatty, we're approving the rest of the agenda as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, moving on. That passes unanimously. A8 is approval of our consent calendar. I'm going to start down at the end with Ms. Smith. Would you like to pull anything?
Nothing to pull, thank you.
Mr. Sellers? Ms. Beatty? Anything else? No? That's it? Dr. Patel?
Nothing to pull, thank you.
Mr. Zane?
Nothing to pull.
And nothing for me, so with the exception of E305, is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Motion to approve.
On a motion by Mr. Zane, second by Ms. Beatty, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. And that takes us to our superintendent's briefing. Dr. Apostle.
Yes, thank you, Madam President, members of the board and audience. Thank you for being here this evening. Appreciate your attendance very much. We have several recognitions of note to present to the board this evening. Please look at the board packet for the full descriptions in B2, and I encourage you to read them. But tonight I wanted to highlight some people that you won't find listed in the board packet. On the night of Friday, January 20th, Westview basketball coach Kyle Smith's grandfather suffered a heart attack while watching the game from the stands. Mr. Bill Parkhurst's heart stopped and he had no pulse. Quick-thinking bystanders, including athletic trainers Robbie Bowers from Rancho Bernardo and Christina Schur from Westview, performed CPR and used a defibrillator until medics arrived. Doctors stated their actions saved Mr. Parkhurst's life, and Mr. Parkhurst is now home from the hospital and recovering. Robbie and Christina, you are heroes. Please stand to be publicly recognized. At this time, we would like a special photo to be taken with their principals, Dave and Todd, and members of the Smith family. If you'll join us up front near the dais, that'd be wonderful. Thank you. At this time, I also want to commend a special group that works tirelessly on behalf of our students. The group behind the October Jacko Smash event raised $20,000 for Poway Unified. $10,000 will go to the Special Education Foundation, and $10,000 will go to Abraxas High School's transition program. Representatives are here to present the checks tonight. Ginger Corvée, will you please come up? Want to come up and have them present the check to you?
My name is Heather Dugdale, and I have had the honor and privilege for the last 3 years to be the festival director for Jacko Smash. And what started as just a crazy idea has now become something that will be a staple in Poway for a long time to come, which we are so happy about. The Kiwanis Club of Poway will be taking over from here, from the three of us, and will be carrying this forward for a very long time. We have made it clear our desire to continue to support the special needs here in Poway, and that has been critical and key to our support from the district and also from you all. So we appreciate your involvement and engagement in something that I have to say, I don't have a special needs child, but I have been honored and blessed to be able to support and help the organizations and people like Mark and Janice and Dave who do the really, really hard work for these really great, amazing kids and families. So thank you for your support, and we do want to give them an opportunity, but also to just present those checks, because we did raise $30,000, and 20 of which is going to the Poway Unified School District. So thank you, thank you.
Hi. I'm Mark Exley. I'm the president. No, I don't want to say it. I'll say it. I'm the president of the Special Education Foundation. And more importantly, I have some of my board members here from the foundation that kind of take most of the burden off of me. And that's Renee Tompkins, Chris Yeager, and Michael O'Donnell. And, oh, there's Sherry. Sherry showed up. Sherry Hughes. So either these people are either specialist teachers within the district or actually parents of a special needs child, including myself. So with that being said, with the monies that we've received over the last couple of years from the Jacko Smash program, we were able to touch all 37 school sites. So, and it was either directly or indirectly that we did this. So, thank you, ladies, because, oh, and thanks for the money. Yes, thank you very much. So, thank you, board. Thank you, ladies. And next.
Hi, I'm Janice Pepin, and I'm one of the 6 teachers in the transition program at Abraxas High School. And I want to thank Jacko Smash for letting us be one of the beneficiaries, because without this money, we would not be able to service our students as well as what we will be. We plan on using the funding to work on and complete a sensory room, which is critical for the type of students that we serve in our community. As the transition program continuously grows, we know that we will be using this money for many wonderful causes for the program, and I thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Did we get all the photo ops we need here? I think our, yes, please, get in there. Everybody crowd around.
We'll start with the special education.
The special education group first.
Yes.
Thanks, everybody. October 29th, put it on your calendar.
Well, I'd like to continue because next week is National School Counseling Week 2017 to focus public attention on the unique contribution of school counselors within the United States schools. The theme is School Counseling, Helping Students Realize Their Potential. Joining us to highlight the tremendous impact school counselors have on our students is Fran Halmerson from Los Peñasquitos Elementary. She has a short presentation for us. Fran? See, I'm used to saying places like Walla Walla in the state of Washington.
Puyallup.
Yeah. and
Great job on Halmerson. Thank you,
That's
Dr.
right.
Apostle. Good evening, Dr. Apostle, members of the board, and members of our community. I'm honored to be representing the 55 school counselors that we have in Poway Unified, and a little stressed about just having a few minutes to tell you about all the amazing things that are happening, but I will keep it very brief. We are celebrating the National School Counseling next week, and that's an initiative that was done by the American School Counseling Association to recognize and promote and advocate for counseling. And so we are looking at that also next week. It guides our work as counselors. As you can see on the presentation, we really look at the 3 domains for students. We look at career and academics and personal social. And I'm going to talk a little bit, very briefly, about how that's kind of changed a little bit. But we work very hard. You're going to see just 3 examples at the 3 different levels of the great work that's being done and the results that directly connect to our LCAP goal, number 3, of strengthening the positive and school climate and making it a healthy place for kids. So one of the things that's happened for counseling over the years is that the mental health needs of our students have changed. We're no longer able to just be guidance counselors and write letters for college and talk about careers. We also need to talk about the whole person in order for them to be ready to learn. And so now we really look at ourselves more as comprehensive school counselors for the entire child, for the whole child, because of those mental health needs. As you can see from the data that was collected at one of our middle schools, students are looking for help with more than just homework and classwork. They're looking for help with other personal issues that get in the way of them being able to learn. And so our counseling staff is working very hard to respond to that in lots of various ways. So I'm going to show you just very briefly. I mean, I could talk to you for about an hour, but I won't. I'm going to keep it to 3 or 4 minutes. We're just going to give you samples of 3 things that have happened in our schools, examples at each of the levels. So the one you're looking at right now is just an example of what happened at an elementary school before there was a counselor there and what happened after there was a counselor there. As you can see, before there was a counselor there, before the counselor came in and implemented positive behavior support, social skills lessons, school climate changes, 223 referrals to the office for a school that was about 580 children. You and I both know that when kids aren't in class, they're not learning. So you can see the significant gains, actually really reduction, in those discipline referrals. When you look at current year, this school's excited because if the trend continues, they're looking at a year with maybe 75 or fewer discipline referrals, which means those kids are in class learning. Just a brief sample, quick look at what's happening at one of our middle schools. They're doing some amazing lessons called Stepping Up, which talk about communication skills, problem solving, emotion management, bullying prevention. And what's great is they have data from the students of how they felt before they had the lessons and then how they felt afterwards. And you can see the significant gains that are going to help those students, again, be ready to learn so they can be academically successful. But I think you can agree that those are also things that are going to help them for life. When we take a look at our high school, what I love about this data is they're not waiting until 12th grade to talk about careers. They are working with 9th graders to talk about what do you want to be when you grow up? What are your dreams? And by just doing some lessons with 9th graders, they've only done half of their 9th graders, and they're working on the second half of the 9th graders currently. So this data is just from the first half. Look at that gain in the number of students that now have an idea of what career do I want to have? What do I want to do when I get out of high school and out of college? 516%. Then you take a look also that there was increase in students who plan to go to 4- or 2-year colleges. And then it's really nice to see that kids aren't saying, I don't know, as much at that high school. So great work from the elementary, middle, and high, just very brief sampling. Hopefully you feel the way that all of my colleagues back here behind me feel. We know that the whole child is what we need to have available for them to learn and to be successful. We appreciate the opportunity to work at such a great district and be part of the great success. I have just given you a little tiny sampling. If you would like more information about school counseling, we're always happy to come back, but we're also very excited to celebrate next week with you when it's National School Counseling Week. So thank you very much for your time.
And for sharing your important work. Very well done. On a more somber note, the governor's proposed budget was released earlier this month, and it does not look good for public education funding. You will hear more budget details tonight from our interim superintendent of business support services. Tomorrow, all Poway Unified staff and families will receive a budget communication detailing what the governor's proposal means for our specific district. Now, more than ever, we need stakeholders' input during the Local Control Accountability Plan, or LCAP process, as it is vital in determining how the district's budget is best used for student success. If you can't attend a forum in person, your feedback is welcome online through our mobile app or link on the Poway Unified School District homepage. So thank you very much. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Dr. Apostle. And that takes us to our board member reports. So I think I'll start and we can save the best for last down there at the end. All right. It's been a busy 2 weeks and only 2 weeks, but 4 closed session meetings regarding hiring a permanent superintendent, 3 Lunar New Year celebrations, and 1 great interview I want to tell you about. To the interviews, the board has nothing to report yet on the superintendent search, though we are hopeful that we will soon. On March 19th, the board met in closed session to consider 11 candidates that were whittled down by our search firm from 91 total applicants. So we were very impressed with the pool of applicants that came to us. We did narrow the field to 5 very impressive semifinalists and invited them for in-person interviews, and that's what we've been doing since then. We're still interviewing, we're still debating the strengths of our incredible finalists and have not made a decision, so thanks for your patience. We are as anxious as you are, believe us. Lunar New Year is here, and I had the opportunity, again, to attend 3 different celebrations, and I think there are a few more coming up in the next week or so. A dinner celebrating Year of the Rooster, put on by the Chinese School of San Diego. They had wonderful food, lion dancers, always a staple, and some other entertainment that included some by the Confucius Institute. There are new partners in the district at San Diego State University, so that was wonderful. Another at Adobe Bluffs Elementary School, which is in its first year of Mandarin language instruction for TK through 5th graders. They did a big assembly where every single grade level class did a song and dance in Mandarin, even the teeny ones in Mandarin, to the delight of parents who packed the house, and I think several board members were there for that. Just thank you to Principal Eddie Park for the work on that, and the Mandarin teacher there. And my daughter goes to Adobe Bluffs. She's going to scream at me if I say it wrong, but the teacher, Li Lao Shur. And finally, this past Saturday at Black Mountain Middle School, I stopped into the North County Chinese School and San Diego Chinese Cultural Association celebration. It was a beautiful day, finally, for an outdoor thing after a long time when it wasn't. But it was wonderful there to see a Chinese yo-yo presentation. That was so interesting. It featured 3 PUSD students that I personally recognized, so that was a lot of fun. It was much harder to tell who the lion dancers were, but they were also students, but in the costumes. That was hard to tell. So I might have known some of them too, but that was wonderful. So what I learned, right hand up, gongxi, gongxi. And finally, Cox Local Edition with Brad Pomerantz invited me to do an interview with them that'll air sometime in February, and I got to talk about 3 of our outstanding Poway Unified teachers. And we've heard about them before in our superintendent's report, but Tracy Jackson, a math teacher at Oak Valley Middle School, who received the National Rosenthal Prize for Innovation in Math Teaching. There was Uli Reiner, the orchestra director at Bernardo Heights and Twin Peaks Middle Schools, who's a top 10 finalist for Grammy Educator of the Year. She was a top 25 finalist last year, in fact, so we should find out in Grammy Week whether she wins the whole thing this year. Fingers crossed for her. And of course, Megan Gross, special education teacher at Del Norte High School, who's one of 4 finalists for National Teacher of the Year. We are so lucky to have these outstanding educators working in our district with our kids. It was a great opportunity to showcase the excellence of our district like that. So I was honored to be there, and it was a lot of fun. And with that, I'll go to Mr. Zane.
Thank you, Madam President. Very brief report. I also enjoyed attending the Lunar New Year celebration at Adobe Bluffs with board members O'Connor Ratcliffe and Dr. Patel. And for men, it's actually left hand out, right hand in, gongxi, gongxi. You know, the student performances were something else, but if you want to see the staff that performed their dance and song number, just go visit my Facebook page. So thank you. No further report.
Good evening, everyone. I think I'm going to get the hang of this board report thing. It has been only a couple weeks since our last board report, so I'll try to keep it short, but I have been very busy, so there are a few things I would like to share. I really haven't felt like I've been able to catch my breath since joining. There's a lot really going on, and everyone I've met throughout the district, whether it's a school site or a district office, has just filled me with optimism. They keep sharing words, positive words of encouragement and optimism, and I think I'm feeding off of that, and it's really good energy for me. It's not only infectious, but it's really the fuel we need to help us meet or exceed the expectations our children have for us. And I really know where to get that constant supply of optimism. It's really at the school site. So there were a couple of days where I was feeling like, wow, this was tough. And then I went to a school site. So in the last 2 weeks, I visited Adobe Bluffs for the Chinese Lunar New Year presentation at Thursday Sing. I went to Poway High School, and I went to Rancho Bernardo High School. At Adobe Bluffs Elementary School, it was the Chinese Lunar New Year program at Thursday Sing, which is their Thursday Sing is a regular thing that they do. But this theme was Lunar New Year. And Principal Eddie Park was able to introduce me to the dual language program as well as the instructors. And I was able to hear firsthand a showering of compliments on this program that we have at our elementary school from Dr. Lily Chang of the Confucius Institute at UCSD. And as SDSU, sorry, who Board President O'Connor Ratcliffe just said that we are now designated Adobe Bluffs as a Confucius school. So that really is quite the honor. I thoroughly enjoyed hearing from her explain about one of the songs. The students were singing a song about a snail and an oriole. So these children learned the translation of these songs too. So the snail was chastising the oriole for to not be too proud, because the snail could reach the top of the tree as well. It would just take a little more time. So it really is a beautiful song if you think about what these students are doing, being in America, learning Mandarin. They might be the snail going up the tree, but they're going to get there, and it was really quite incredible. The kids sang about body parts and alphabet, all kinds of children's songs. It was really delightful. At Poway High School, I met with Principal Ron Garrett, and he described the efforts of his students on building a support program for recycling. It was quite impressive to hear him talk about that student initiative, as well as other school improvement projects. He took me on a tour of the campus, and I was also able to see the FFA classroom, which is also slightly delightful to me personally, because I have a daughter who's 9 who wants to run her own ranch one day. So it's good to know that kids like mine have a place to go when they get to high school. As well as I saw the arts classroom and computer classrooms. I also met teacher Roger Dom, who was here at the last meeting with his robotics students. And he took me around to the robotics classroom and taught me about the Engineering Pathways program, which is a pretty exciting program we have. At Rancho Bernardo High School, I had a tour, or after a tour of the IT infrastructure at the district office, which I was very impressed with what we have here at the district office, I was taken by Bob Gravina over to Rancho Bernardo High School for a tour with Principal David Lemaster. With the last few video presentations we've seen at this board, I was very curious to see what setup they have at Rancho Bernardo High School. And I have to say, you can really tell where this professional quality of material comes from. These are excited students. These students are thoroughly engaged with the equipment that they have that they got from grant money to put these presentations together. It was quite incredible. There was no distraction in any one of those classrooms. They were all fully excited about the programs they were part of. I was very impressed. I also had the pleasure of going to Teacher Meserly's classroom, Mr. Meserly's art classroom, and seeing that. And of course, I had to visit a chemistry class, since I remember those very fondly. During the last couple weeks, the board has spent about 20 hours together in closed session going through the hiring of a new superintendent. We've seen many fine candidates, and what I'd like to comment on is these have been sometimes intense and condensed meetings, but it's allowed me to get to know the other board members better. And I do have a better sense of their outlook and input, priorities as well as personalities. And I'm still fully committed to collaboration and will search for common ground wherever possible. And lastly, over the weekend, I was invited as the guest of honor to the San Diego Federation of Indian Associations India Republic Day event. So while Mandarin Chinese Lunar New Year is going on, India's also been having some nice celebrations. We celebrate Republic Day as the day India adopted its constitution. And in the process of working on that speech, since I'm an American, I had to dig in and say, okay, what do we have in common between the Indian Constitution and the American Constitution? And I learned that the Constitution Assembly was able to draft their Constitution very, very quickly because they relied on the American Constitution. And our Constitution, we went through a long process between the Articles of Confederation and drafting a Constitution as we know it today. These things take time. And like choosing a new superintendent, these things take time. But when they're worth it, when the cause is so important, it's worth all that time and effort we put into it. And so yeah, it was 20 hours, and we'll do even more, but it's worth it. It's for a good cause, it's for our students, and it's for our community. So I will leave you with a small quote from Mahatma Gandhi, who was one of our freedom fighters in India. And he is a world-renowned champion of public service. The difference between what we do and what we are capable of doing would suffice to solve most of the world's problems. And I'm sticking to that. Thank you.
Okay, welcome. So I also had the opportunity to enjoy some of the festivities for the Chinese New Year. This is a month-long celebrations of the Year of the Rooster this year. And so I got to go to the festivities at the Jasmine Restaurant in Mira Mesa, where the House of China and the San Diego Chinese School held their event, and also the North County Chinese schools held their events this past Saturday at Black Mountain, and there's an upcoming one at Adobe Bluffs on Thursday at 9 o'clock with the Confucius Institute, as well as some foreign guests from China. So this has been fun, and I have learned that the chicken possesses many fine character traits, including persistence, courage, and empathy. And I also was thrilled to attend a couple of weeks ago the performance of all of our high school honor choirs at Magnificat at the Poway Performing Arts Center, and that was just incredibly impressive to see the talent for all 5 of our comprehensive high school students that are in the honor choir. And we were supposed to have the Rancho Bernardo High School Friends of the Library 5K, their annual fundraiser, was supposed to have taken place this month, but it got rained out with those torrential downpours, and so that will be the 3rd annual event. Has been postponed till the end of February, and I will again, for the 3rd year running, participate in that. And I had the opportunity to stop by the robotics club at Poway High this past weekend. Roger Dom, the teacher, runs that club, as well as the Engineering Pathways program. And he and his students were here at our last board meeting this month, showing us a robot that they had built collectively, and they also presented our board members, each individual board member, with a placard, a door hanger with everybody's family's last names, and it was just really neat, beautiful gifts. And so I was thrilled to be able to actually meet the student, Christian Shaw, who made my plaque, and I got to thank him and tell him this was one of the best gifts I'd ever received, and that it was so pretty. I didn't want to hang it on my door. I wanted to keep it inside on my bookshelf to be able to enjoy it. And lastly, I just wanted to note that this is the first time in the history of the school districts that we have done 2 meetings in a month. This is something that had been debated and deliberated by the board for several years, and so we decided to create a sort of a trial year where we would alternate months and have 2 board meetings, and I have really enjoyed that, and I do want to extend a thank you to Dr. Robertson for putting the schedule together, because as we were working on this, there were some complexities with some deadlines, state-mandated deadlines, district issues, vacations. So it wasn't an easy process to put the schedule together. So thank you, Dr. Robertson. And that ends my report.
I meant your mic, not mine, but I can understand why you would want to turn mine off. I just have one brief comment. Previous members have already discussed the superintendent search, so you know sort of the details and the parameters of it. I just want to give a shout out to our consultants, Ray and Associates, the 2 gentlemen who've been shepherding us through this process, Skip Rowland and Bob Mata, have really been phenomenal. The expertise and the guidance that they have provided us has been invaluable. The quality of the candidates that they have brought forth has been phenomenal. As you might guess, keeping this group on task is not an easy challenge, and they've done it very, very well. And the fact that we don't have a superintendent for you yet is really a testament to the quality of those candidates that they've brought forward, because it has been really hard work cutting that list down from 11 to 5 to finally settling on 1. So we're working hard at it, and my goal remains the same. I want to bring you a superintendent who we're lucky to have and who feels lucky to be here. And I'm confident that we're going to be able to do that very soon. Thanks.
All right, good evening. I just have 2 items for you. You're welcome. The first thing that I've been working on is a letter to families, and we talked about this at the last board meeting. It's specifically revolving around protecting our immigrant students, and I passed out the prospective letter that I wrote. Everyone on the dais has it. If you'd like to look at this letter, there are also copies available in the lobby, and that's item H3, I believe, so it's at the very end. And I'm really happy that we came to the decision that a letter as opposed to a resolution is the best option for our district, and echoing some sentiments that other board members have expressed, we're looking for common ground, and I'm really glad that we found consensus with this. And something else that I haven't been super busy with, but has happened in the past few weeks, is I attended a meeting with the Superintendent Student Advisory Committee, which I've been on for about 2 years now. And we talked a lot about LCAP, and I'm really happy that students are being involved in this process, because when LCAP came to be a few years ago, we decided that, well, not we, but people in California government, they decided that decisions were not going to be made behind closed doors, and we were going to involve the community, and I'm really happy that students are a part of that conversation. So great work happening from Dr. Apostle, Mrs. Pake, and Dr. Robertson, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And that brings us to item C, public comments. Are there any public comments? Dr. Patel.
Yes, we do have several public comments. I will start with the first one is PSEA leaders.
Good evening. My name's Lynette Turner. I'm president of PSEA, and beside me is Courtney Martin, and she's our professional learning coordinator and also VP of PSEA. And we'd like to take this opportunity tonight to thank you, Dr. Apostle, for speaking to classified staff on January 13th on our Professional Growth Day.
Dr. Apostle took time out of his busy day twice to come to Poway High and recognize the contributions of classified staff and acknowledge the value and importance of our work. You lifted our spirits when you said we were deserving of fair, equal, or better compensation than comparable districts. You inspired us when you said our work every day is game time, not a dress rehearsal and not practice. And we return to our sites with a renewed commitment to our jobs and to the students that we serve. You confirmed PSEA's mantra that we are in the people business and described how our district must continue under the basic philosophy of mutual respect, developing strong relationships, communication, and collaboration with each other as we work through our challenges.
You asked us for our input so that you could understand our expectations of what is needed as a superintendent while respecting our district culture and programs. You gave us a voice and the opportunity to hit the reset button. The most important expectation we could convey to you as interim superintendent and to our governing board is that classified employees respond very well to respect, fair and equal treatment as valued employees of the district. In your search for a permanent replacement, board members, if you can find a leader with the same appreciation and respect for classified folks as Dr. Apostle, we would be very grateful. Actually, did you ask him to apply? Dr. Apostle, at your presentation, you gave us a standing ovation, and we give you one now and say thank you for the respectful and positive message.
So I had a second speaker was Nancy Brundrett. Perfect. Phonetic.
Hello. My name is Nancy Brundrett. I am a special education instructional assistant at Highland Ranch Elementary School. I've had the privilege of working for PUSD for 23 years, as well as being a graduate of Mount Carmel High School. I have been blessed to work at wonderful campuses and with great and appreciative teachers and administrators. I have always felt valued. It hasn't been until the past few years, and in my increased capacity as a site rep, employee rep, and most recently as a mentor in the paraprofessional program, that I have come to realize just how great my experience has been. Unfortunately, many members in this unit feel marginalized and overlooked when it comes to having a voice, being included, and just feeling respect for the critical work they do every day. It is my sincere hope that this board will find the absolute best superintendent for our great school district. It is my belief that this must include someone who not only has a clear understanding of what role the classified employee plays in the overall success of this district, and I do believe that we are an integral part, but wants to include them and listen to their opinions when difficult decisions have to be made. I am confident that I speak for all 2,000 plus members of PSEA when I say that we want to continue to work hard for the families and the community as a whole. It is often said that respect is earned and not given. I strongly believe that it's time for every employee of PUSD to feel that, because I know it has been earned. Thank you for your time.
Our next speaker is Ronald Stewart and family, and there were some handouts.
Thank you. I'm Ronnie Stewart, and I'm the grandfather of Maya Charbono. And excuse me for not being able to make enough copies for everyone. I went online and I saw board members, and I made copies for board members, but in reference that I made a request about getting some reimbursement about monies we spent to get Maya to read. Maya's 9 years old now, and this is her father.
Hello, Robert Charbono.
And the reason why we're here is that Maya is now in 4th grade. When she was in 1st and 2nd grade, she has dyslexia. Her father has it, mother had it, and she was having a hard time reading. She's in special ed. It wasn't working for her. For the first 2 years, she was lost, and it really made a difference on her self-esteem. We decided on the 3rd year that we went to most, if not all, of the IEP meetings, that we had to do something else, that whatever that was being provided by the district wasn't working for her. We got her into a special class called the Learning Convergence, teaching the Linda Mood Bell method. It's a one-on-one program, and it changed her life. She can read. And what we're doing is seeking reimbursement for the money that we spent. She is a different kid. We weren't exactly sure the channels we needed to go through, so we appealed to the board. We talked to the program director, we talked to the program specialist, and it was recommended that you take your cause to the board, and that's why we're here. And if this isn't the most appropriate channel, maybe you can guide us in terms of what the appropriate channel might be. I mean, she's at the point where she wants to go to the library. She reads stop signs, she reads billboards. Her father can't wear shirts now because she can read them. And she's a new person. And we just thought we had to do something. And that's why we're here. We're asking for the guidance from the board, whatever you can do to help us. Thank you. Anything to add?
Thank you very much for your comments. Dr. Apostle is going to pass this to Dr. Robertson, who will contact you about that.
Thank you.
This is Dr. Robertson here.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
And the last speaker slip I have for tonight is Ms. Janet Latang.
Good evening, Dr. Apostle, Superintendent's Council, and School Board. This evening, I would like to address PUSD's upcoming LCAP community forums. This year, the LCAP community forums will be held at the individual school sites, allowing for a more localized opportunity for community input. I have attended community forums the past 2 years, and I think that attending one of these forums is a rich experience for each community member attending, is a golden opportunity for the district to share with the community important information about PUSD and its programs, and to gain valuable community feedback in return. I believe that our district and our board should make it their goal to have as many community members come to one of our scheduled LCAP forums. I think we all know that it takes a little bit of time and education to understand PUSD's LCAP. We all learn much from attending each of these forums. I'd like to thank the district representatives and school board members who will be attending as many of these LCAP forums as you can. We all know where you'll be the next month, or do we? As of today, I do not see a schedule on the district website LCAP page when and where these LCAP community forums will be held. Are general community members welcome to attend an LCAP forum? What if a parent cannot attend the LCAP community forum scheduled for their school? What if a school chooses to not hold a community forum? How do community members find out about alternative meeting times? The district does give the community the option of offering input through an online survey. Honestly, I think the survey does not explain our LCAP and the goals to the full extent, and therefore could make it difficult for the community to answer. I've studied the LCAP over the past year, and I would have a tough time figuring out under which goal on the electronic survey to share my request for the district's continued support of visual and performing arts, because especially this past year, it shows up in goals 1, 3, and 4. I request that the district website, that through the district website, the district mobile app, and the district social media accounts, PUSD advertise the date, time, and location of at least some of these scheduled LCAP forums so that every PUSD community member has the option to attend at least one of these forums. Let's strive to invite and welcome all community members who want to attend our district's LCAP forums. These forums have been inspirational for me in the past and are a great way to brainstorm with other involved PUSD community members. I'm looking forward to the great ideas that this year's LCAP community forums bring. And who knows, you might inspire someone else to get involved like it did me. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Could we get more information as far as the LCAPs and how they are being done this year? Because it's quite different from the previous couple of years. And is it possible to, as the speaker requested, to post them on the district website? Thank you.
And that concludes our item C speakers. Dr. Patel?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
That was the final speaker.
Okay, that's not to say we don't have other speaker slips. They're just on specific agenda items. So, Dr. Patel, please let me know when we get to an item that there's a speaker. Yes. Okay, thank you. That takes us to item D101. This is ratification of stipulated agreements for student expulsion. Dr. Robertson.
Thank you, Madam President. Tonight we bring forward to the board 2 stipulated agreements for the board's action.
Are there any questions for Dr. Robertson? And if not, then we need to vote on each separately, correct?
We typically just vote for all of them together unless you want to pull one out.
If there's no objection to voting together, like a motion to approve and ratify both stipulated agreements.
I will move to approve.
Second.
I got a motion by Ms. Beatty, second by Mr. Zane. Is there any further discussion of this item? And since this is a discipline issue, we'll leave Ms. Smith off, but all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, those passed unanimously, 5-0. Item D102. Dr. Robertson, this is the, approval of resolution number 33, 2017, entitled National School Counseling Week 2017. Dr. Robertson.
Thank you, Madam President. Earlier this evening, under the superintendent's report, you heard a fantastic presentation on the contributions that our incredible counselors provide for all of our students. But I'd like to also add they provide incredible support for all of the adults in the community also, which didn't really show up in that data, but it's very real and very integral to our learning environment. So tonight we bring forward a resolution for the board's action.
Motion to approve.
I will second.
On a motion by Mr. Zane, second by Ms. Beatty. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Zane.
I felt compelled to make the motion because Ms. Helmerson is kind of staring at me, putting the
Oh, pressure.
pressure on.
Frequent flyer.
With that, I'll start with our preferential vote from our student board member.
Aye.
And everyone else, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, this passes unanimously, including with our student board member. Item D201, adoption of the initial proposal from the Board of Education to Poway School Employees Association Operations Support Services, Unit 2. Ms. Hueso.
Good evening, Madam President, board members, Interim Superintendent Dr. Apostle. The action before the board is to adopt the initial proposal from the Board of Education to Poway School Employees Association Operations Support Services Unit 2 in accordance with Government Code Section 3547 as required to initiate negotiations. Respectfully submitted.
No speakers on this topic. No? Okay. Mr. Zane.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
All right, that's a motion by Mr. Zane, second by Ms. Beatty. Is there any discussion of this item? This is the second time we've seen this. All right, seeing none, this is a personnel vote, so I think we're leaving off our student number again on this, but all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, that passes unanimously without a student preferential vote. Item D301, public hearing and approval of resolution numbers 51-2017 through 66-2017 entitled Dedication of an Easement to Poway Solar Mod 1 LLC at various school sites. Mr. Azimzadeh.
Yes, Madam President, we should have a public hearing now. After public hearing, I would make some recommendations.
Okay, and with that, the public hearing is now open at this time. I will take any public comments on this item, whether or not you've put in a speaker slip. Come forward now. Going, gone. Seeing no speakers, this public hearing is now closed. Back to Mr. Azimzadeh.
Yes, so I recommend approval of resolutions numbers 51-2017 through 66-2017 regarding the dedication of an easement for Solar Mod 1 LLC at various school sites.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
On a motion by Dr. Patel, close, but I'm going to give it to Ms. Beatty, second by Ms. Beatty. Are there any questions or discussion on this item before we vote? And this is not discipline or personnel, so I can take a preferential vote from Ms. Smith.
Aye.
Aye. And for everyone else, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, that passes unanimously, 6-0. And thank you for the revisions. I appreciate that. That takes us to D302, approval of monthly budget revisions. Mr. Azimzadeh.
As Dr. Apostle mentioned, the governor has submitted his 2017-18 proposed budget, and it doesn't really good for the schools. He has been extremely conservative in projecting the one part of the state income which relates to the 1% revenue earners. And because they do not have any W-2, by this time, wages or whatever, so we know how much they have earned. So we would have to wait when they file the returns and we find out how much really they have earned. So he has been very conservative in projecting that, and the legislative analyst actually doesn't agree with him in that regard. But unfortunately, we have to go by what he's telling us right now. And also, he's sort of manipulating the Prop 98 by deferring our funding for a very short period of time. So the maintenance factor of the Prop 98 would not be in effect as much as it was supposed to be. And we think that what he is doing is not legal, but again, potentially CSBA or other groups could sue, the state for that, but it will take many years, to get any resolution for that. So at this time, we have to go with the governor's first budget proposal. And what he's doing is that he's proposing 1.48% COLA. And he is not changing the LCFF gap funding at all. Normally we would expect that the gap funding would be, a little bit reduced, so we get closer to the target amount of the 2021. But he's not doing that, and he's only proposing $48 per ADA for the discretionary money. And previously, he was actually giving us more money. And so with that together, we have revised the budget for the 2016-17 and also the MYP, and we maintained the $7.5 million cut for 2017-18, but for 2018-19, we had to actually increase the cuts to $17,050,000. So with those cuts and the revised budget for the 2016-17, I request approval of the revised budget as presented to you.
Thank you, Mr. Zimzadeh. I have questions. First question, you mentioned that the legislative analyst didn't agree with the governor's version. How different was it?
Well, legislative analyst thinks that the governor is very, very conservative. So he thinks that they really, the whole group over there, they think that the state revenues are going to be much higher than what, and we kind of think that that's true, but we can't wait right now, and we have to go by his projections. We don't have any other options.
No, I understand that. I'm just wondering if you have specific numbers about how different it is for our district.
It is much more than what he's saying, because we were expecting that he would give $2.2 billion extra to the schools, but he's not. He's giving only $400-some thousand extra.
Okay.
So that makes a big difference. So the legislative analyst thinks that the $2.2 million could really actualize.
Occasionally in the past, when there's a big differential there in between what one says over the other, we've received as a board both versions, so we can kind of see, this is the one we have to use, but this is also what some other experts in the field are saying, so that the board can see what else it might look like.
Sure, if you like it, we could get the legislative analyst numbers for you. But
anyone interested
in
seeing those numbers?
Makes us a little bit more sad, because we see that we can't do anything about it at this time.
Yeah, well, and I appreciate that. Thank you for the explanation. Any other questions for Mr. Zimzadeh? Okay, is there a motion to approve this sad, sad budget?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
On a motion by Ms. Beatty and second by Dr. Patel. Any further discussion before we vote? All right, I will go to Ms. Smith.
Aye.
Thank you very much. And to everyone else, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That passes unanimously, but we're very sad.
I should just add that I'm really hoping that we're going to have more money, but Dr. Apostle told us that hope is not a plan. So we have to come up with some plans, actually. And we are actually working on the plans.
Mr. Zimzadeh, you broke your streak this evening. You've been coming back every month, finding at least $1 million. I don't know what's going on here.
We're going to have to let you go at the end of February.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. This takes us to E305. This is the item pulled by Ms. Beatty. Approval of the Williams Settlement Quarterly Report for December 2016. Mr. Zimzadeh.
Yeah. This is E305, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I recommend approval of Williams Settlement Quarterly Report for December 2016 as presented for that quarter.
Ms. Beatty.
So I have a question. This always seems like kind of a perfunctory or pro forma sort of exercise. This is on the consent calendar quarterly, and the board approves it. So My question is, and we have these itemizations where, have there been complaints, and if so, how many, with regard to teacher vacancies, textbooks and instructional materials, facilities conditions. In what form do those complaints need to be? Because we will hear complaints, whether it's via email or public comment or elsewhere. So how formalized do the complaints need to be with regard to, say, world language instructional materials, or the heating elements at school sites not working?
For each one of those groups, they have to be formal complaints, and they would have to present, for example, for facilities, they would have to give their complaints to Mr. Coster, and he will get them together and he will bring it here. But he doesn't have any official complaint that relates to the facilities, so he cannot say. If it is some minor complaints that our staff are making, that is not part of that. The Williams complaints is just overall if the public complains about that.
Right, and I guess what I'm saying is we do hear, there are people who come to public comment, say, and bring up issues, say, with textbooks. Is that's not technically so I'm just trying to understand what a formal complaint would look like if that's not it.
Well, would you like
What's
to talk
the
about
threshold?
the textbooks?
Feel free to turn on your mic.
So that isn't considered for us a formal complaint about a particular material. So what we'll do is we will follow up on the particular complaint, whatever it is, from here, and hopefully we get to a good resolution. If we have other kinds of complaints around what Williams covers in terms of sufficiency of materials, maybe inappropriate materials, then we can take that as a formal complaint and follow up on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I think I had also was very curious about this item. It's always surprising to see 0 in a bucket like this. I find that kind of hard to believe. So what is the formal official process, and is that well described on our website or available to sites to discuss with their site councils or their parent organizations or whichever channels? Is there a formal process that's well outlined and well publicized?
I'm trying to think. Have we had the formal? We don't have a formal. Eric, why don't you come on up? We don't have a formal complaint per se process that I can think of.
Because I know at our school site we just go talk to the principal and he takes care of it.
And they typically come to us, and we typically work on whatever it is. You're not.
Are we rolling?
Now you're on.
I would like to research it. However, the uniform complaint procedure is outlined in the registration materials, the enrollment packet, as part of an official process, and this is where I want to double check, but my understanding of that uniform complaint process is also in board policy and procedures. So how we communicate that then when someone has trying to rectify a position, it's a question of, can I solve it? That's what we'd like to have happen. As opposed to a uniform complaint, because going to the principal and making sure a student has the necessary materials to have a textbook in classroom and to be able to take it home for homework when the student has homework. That's the official definition of the Williams textbook requirement. Those is preferably what we'd like to have happen so we can solve the problem. But if a parent feels it needs to rise to the point of a uniform complaint procedure item, then we should or would be directing them to that procedure.
So I think what I hear you saying is that with regard to textbook complaints, there are specific parameters that would have to reach a threshold of a complaint. We have certain basic requirements, and if those are met, then we're not running afoul of the
Under Williams, we are required to post the complaint process. Should be posted in every classroom, that there is a statement that says that you have the right to offer a complaint regarding one of these 3 areas. And then, as I said, the official language is that each student has a textbook to use in class and to take home for homework when required. We say that because not every child has to take a textbook home for homework every night. And so consequently, as stated, the practice is we'd like that parent who has a concern to talk to the principal if they don't feel their child has sufficient materials and solve the problem before having to go to an official complaint. Should a parent follow the process and file the formal complaint per that outline, then it would be registered with our Williams, the person who's managing this, and then it would go on the board report that we had an official complaint.
Thank you.
Again, what I would do, and with Dr. Robertson, I will get you the procedure.
Thank you.
With that, Ms. Beatty, is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
And a second?
Second.
All right, on a motion by Ms. Beatty, second by Dr. Patel. All in favor? Oh, wait, I'll go to our preferential vote.
Aye.
Aye from Ms. Smith. Everyone else, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, that passes 6-0 unanimously. Thank you. And this takes us to G 306, Enrollment Report 4 for 2016-17 school year. Mr. Azimzadeh.
Madam President, the 4th month enrollment report is presented. We had a net gain of 42 students over month 1 of this year, and attendance rate for month 4 was 96.69%.
Any questions on that? I seem to recall that month 4 is always the one that dips. That's when the colds and flus come out. Man. Any other questions for Mr. Azimzadeh? This is a non-voting item. Okay, seeing none. This takes us to H2. Program Department Presentation Schedule Development by the Board. I'm skipping past H1 notes. Excuse me for one moment. Right, on this, and as I emailed everyone, because we do have these 2 meetings a month for many months, it seems prudent to ask the board if there are presentations, short presentations, I'm not talking anything lengthy, but you know, from the 5 to 15-minute length on particular programs or follow-ups on some of our maybe LCAP goal initiatives that we would like to ask Dr. Apostle to have staff get ready for us to present at some of our board meetings coming up, and that's the purpose of this agenda item. And I know Ms. Beatty has already made a comment if you want to share that at this time.
Actually, we had a discussion, Dr. Patel and I had a discussion with Dr. Apostle during our agenda review meeting, and Dr. Patel and I expressed our preference for really doing a deep dive in workshops on given subjects instead of something that's more formal and maybe not, substantive enough in a presentation. And the other comment I'd made was just that this is the first month that the district is doing 2 meetings a month, and Mr. Zane had warned us that if we went to shorter meetings, we'd find ways to fill them up, and so it just seems like his prophecy is coming to fruition if he wants to address that.
There's absolutely no requirement that we choose to have these presentations. We had expressed some interest in keeping more abreast of our progress on certain initiatives that are going on in the district, and I think this is an opportunity if we choose to make it one.
Just to add to that, I mean, I do like the idea of being able to get to know departments and projects and initiatives that are going on throughout the district that we wouldn't otherwise normally hear about. It allows us, when we are making a budget, to say, oh, well, this was the value of that initiative that was done by this group of employees. But in that light, I don't think we would necessarily be able to have a dialogue in a formal presentation. So it just depends how much more work we want to do as a board with these workshops. That's a significant amount of time that we would have to set aside for that.
I do agree that study sessions are much better suited to big topics like facilities needs, any kind of addressing our cabs. Those are certainly not for a brief 5 to 15-minute presentation during these meetings. I had more in mind our technology plan steering committee update, a recycling education plan update, something on the literacy work group, the library rethink committee. These are things that occurred to me, but if the board is not interested in doing that, I'm fine to back off and allow Dr. Apostle and staff to bring those to us when they feel it's necessary, or when we have a burning desire to say, we really like that next month. Mr. Zane?
Well, while I always welcome compliments that refer to me as prescient, I think there is kind of a middle ground here. I don't, Board Member Sellers would probably agree with me on this, want to fill up any potential weekdays with additional board workshops. If at all possible, we can avoid that. But perhaps on initiatives of district-wide concern and interest, a period of 5 to max 15 minutes at one of these, it might actually help identify an issue that we might want to get into further at a subsequent workshop. But considering the fact we started this meeting roughly 35 minutes late, if most of our second meetings go roughly this duration, I think we can probably live with a 5, 10, 15-minute presentation on something of district-wide, a district-wide update on a program. That's a district-wide program.
I can definitely see that if there are things that we've asked for an update on, and we would like even the public to hear what that update is, I think this is a good opportunity for everyone to hear what's going on, say with our IT or one of these task forces. I think that's a good opportunity for everyone to hear what's going on.
So I'm hearing some interest in this. I think the purpose of this is to kind of work out how would we like to come up with what those things are now and schedule them ahead of time, or do we want to just ask for them as they occur to us? Mr. Sellers.
Well, first off, my mission is right. My mission in life is that you not be right. So that's the first goal. But in deference to that, I think, yeah, as long as we're judicious about, how we do it and how often we do it, I rely on staff to hopefully keep us apprised of what they think is important, but also as long as the board is allowed input into what some of those topics are. If a board member has a topic that they want, presented to the board in 5 or 10 minutes, I don't think it's unreasonable for them to make that request of staff or through the board president to have that happen. But I think we just have to respect each other's time so that we're not doing them all at one time. Maybe we can rotate it like the menu or something like that.
Okay, so I'm hearing then maybe we want to just take those requests as they pop into one of our heads at some point.
Mr. Zane, prior to your tenure on the board, our board used to have monthly weekend workshops, so that's always an option too, since the weekdays are problematic. Good times.
Okay, I'm going to tie this one off then. We're done with this topic then. If anybody's got something they have a pressing desire to learn a little bit more about, I guess let me or Dr. Apostle know, and we'll try to see that on an upcoming agenda. Okay, done with that one. And H3, I know we have some public comment on this. This is Safe Haven, student board member Ella Smith and board members Charles Sellers, which I think they're different proposals at this point, but let's just go to Dr. Patel.
We do have 5 speaker slips for this item. I'm taking them in the order that were given to me. First up is Eleanor Patella.
Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Eleanor Patella, and I am here to encourage you to adopt a safe haven resolution for our school district. I think it's very important. I need to know how many of you on our school board are interested in the safety of these children. That's all. Thank you. Pretty simple and short, huh? So,
next we have Mr. Richard Mason.
I'm Richard Mason from Rancho Bernardo. This time I'm not talking about funding for libraries, but about children. Last meeting I was very much moved by Ella Smith's presentation on safe havens, and I just want to urge you to adopt such a resolution safeguarding the children who are threatened by or deportation and other immigration problems. Thank you.
Next, we have Ms. Michelle Perry.
Good evening. I'd like to begin by thanking student board member Ella Smith for suggesting that a safe haven resolution be considered by the PUSD board. As I sat in the audience at the last meeting while the idea of the resolution was being discussed, I thought about the friends and community members that I know who are fearful for their futures. And for these individuals, addressing a safe haven resolution may provide some comfort, and sends a message that their concerns are being heard. It is my belief that the district should do all that it can to ensure that all students feel safe at school. The adoption of a resolution is more than a symbolic act. It assists with raising awareness about this issue and sends a message to our students that we are listening. When students don't feel safe, it can impact their learning. If this resolution can alleviate some of these fears, we should do what is in the best interest of our kids. Again, thank you, board members Ella Smith and Mr. Charles Sellers, for speaking for those without a voice and putting a spotlight on this very important issue. Thank you.
Next is Ms. Daisy Eckel. Oh, sorry, your C and your L are close together.
I'll be short and sweet. Good evening, board. I'm here today to express my appreciation to the board for discussing the idea of a safe haven solution. I believe these discussions have a positive impact in help our students feel safe. Thank you.
And our last comment is Ms. Joan Little.
Good evening. My name is Joan Little. I reside in PUSD. I had the pleasure of reviewing the video of the board's last meeting of January 17th. I was very impressed with the presentation of student board member Ella Smith regarding schools being safe havens and the importance of making sure PUSD parents and students are aware of the laws protecting student records. Given the times in which we live in, I believe communicating this information as soon as possible to the wider PUSD community is extremely important. I'm fully in favor of board member Ms. O'Connor Radcliffe's suggestion at the last meeting that State Superintendent of Public Instruction Tom Torlickson's letter of December 21st, 2016 be posted on the district's website. It's an excellent letter that clearly outlines existing laws protecting student records and will be very informative for the community. As a postscript, I see that Ms. Smith has been very busy again with a letter, and I really commend her dedication on this issue. I think the letter is fine, although what I would want to do is make sure that the Torlickson letter is added to it, since it's referenced in her letter, and that is put on the website. I'm fine, too, with a resolution. The key is that these important points that are in the Torlickson letter must be given to the wider community because of what is going on. Thank you.
So
that concludes our public comments on this issue. Thank you very much for being here for that. I want to turn it over at this point to Ms. Smith.
First, I want to thank everybody who just spoke. It's always great to hear community input, and your perspective is really valuable. Thank you so much. So I drafted together a letter, and once again, there are copies available in the lobby, and everyone on the dais should have a copy, so we can take this into whatever direction the board would like to. I had prepared a letter under the impression that we were not going to move forward with the resolution yet, but once again, like I want consensus. Ultimately, my ultimate goal is not necessarily a letter. It's not a resolution. It's just to ensure that our students are safe and establishing a safe community, promoting, maintaining a safe community, and just whatever you all think is the best way of going about that, I think is very important.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. I really enjoyed I like your letter a lot. I think it's great, and I very much support the suggestion of the last speaker, Ms. Little, regarding maybe a link to the Torlakson letter so that we don't have to back to back everything. So a link to it, maybe. I would be very in favor of doing that, because it adds some context and a little more detail, certainly. And I also like the idea of distributing any letter that we should agree on as a board to the wider Poway Unified community, in addition to putting it on our website. I think those are both great suggestions that I would be in favor of. And I guess I want to open it up to the board's comments on Ms. Smith's letter. Are we there? I see that there are a couple insert proper contact points, so we may need to refer to staff for some of that to finish this off.
Do you want me to talk about that quickly?
Yes,
okay.
Please.
There are 2 points. So there's 2 main points in italics I want to talk about. So at the end of the second paragraph, I sent this to a few administrators, and I got feedback that perhaps the last line in that second paragraph should be removed. And then at the very end, should you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to contact. And I don't know who the adequate person to contact would be. Perhaps staff could give some direction with that. Who would?
I'm sorry, I missed the question. Was that to me, or was that down the?
Who should be the contact?
Oh, down the line. Who should be the contact? Sorry.
Or I don't know if we need to include that.
It could be forwarded to my office, and then we have the appropriate person selected to process that.
So it sounds like please don't hesitate to contact our superintendent's office.
Is that okay?
That's what it sounded like to me. Yep. Okay.
Thank you, Madam President. First of all, again, thank you, Ms. Smith, for this, and thank you for all your hard work, your outreach to fellow board members, for their feedback leading up to this. As I expressed to you just prior to the start of this meeting, as this letter is written, I don't see any reason to oppose it. It did take into consideration the thoughts that I expressed in the last meeting, wherein I did not feel it appropriate and would not have supported going the route of a resolution, but this does provide the objective of getting the information out. And I think you did a good job in crafting this, and I'm supportive of it.
I do kind of object to taking out that paragraph at the end of this, that sentence at the end of the second paragraph, maybe because I think it's important for us to leave these specific documents that Poway Unified does and will collect. And I believe I expressed that last time. I think that that's important information that I wouldn't want to see left out of this. I don't know if Poway Unified specifically accepts all of those, but I would like to see those specific documents listed so that it's very clear what we will accept in our district in lieu of anything having to do with immigration status. More specific is better.
Can anyone speak to the rationale behind the suggestion that perhaps that not be included?
I can't at this moment, so I'm not quite sure where that came from. So we have some legal opinion on what we can accept in terms of when students are being enrolled. We also have processes in place, and we'll actually be working with all of our staff at the schools around what is the documentation that we take in terms of enrollment and for students.
So keep that line, essentially.
Well, I think I would be interested in being even more specific. For example, Poway Unified would accept X, Y, and Z. Perhaps whatever is in that legal opinion. I would like that specificity.
This is laid out quite nice in the Torlakson letter, and if the letter is just going to be linked, then I would recommend that we actually cut and paste the bullets. There are 5 bullets in the Torlakson letter. It looks like only one has been sort of copied over, and that's a reference to the 1984 Supreme Court decision requiring that all eligible children be enrolled regardless of citizenship or immigration status. But there's a lot of other germane information there. So I would propose that we add those, as well as the preceding paragraph referring to our parents. I think it's really important that we let them know that they're welcome on our campuses regardless of their immigration status. Our parents play a key role in our students' success.
Ms. Smith.
Just quickly, I agree with that. One thing, if we are going to be linking it, I don't want this to just be verbatim of what Tom Torlakson's letter is. So just so we keep that distinction, I think this letter should be more expressing our sentiments as a board about the safety of all students, and then we provide those specific details about documentation, and then kind of like, should you want further information, you have that link to Tom Torlakson's letter. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think in that case, I'd prefer to have his letter just right underneath there, as a separate link instead of a link embedded in this letter, so that it's easier for the community to access. And I believe that's what the members of the public that spoke were recommending as well.
Makes sense.
Or would prefer, I suppose.
Sorry, Mr. Zane, did you want to speak to that before I go, or no? Yes?
Only in as much as I agree with Ms. Smith that in keeping it as it is and linking to the Torlakson letter, I'm not. What I appreciate about the letter that Ms. Smith drafted is that it removed the politically charged aspects of it that are contained within Superintendent Torlakson's letter. So for that reason, I'd much rather prefer that it just be linked as a matter of a public record.
Right, I think the distinction, and it's a subtle one, is whether the link is embedded in Ms. Smith's letter or whether the link stands on its own on the district website. And I would propose...
To that point, I'm indifferent.
Okay.
The one thing that I'm interested in that I think is a little bit more explicit in Mr. Torlakson's letter is the bit about engaged parents who participate in our school community play a key role in helping our students succeed. So they're welcome on school campuses and encouraged on school campuses regardless of their immigration status. I like the way that was more specifically laid out in the Torlakson letter. So if we could beef up that sentence that it's covered there in your 3rd paragraph, I would like to see that beefed up slightly. And that is my only other item here, that I'd like that slightly beefed up.
Okay, makes sense.
I'd be in support of that as well, because a lot of this will directly affect the parents, maybe even more so than the students.
And in the way, and with LCAP forums coming up, we want them to know that they're welcome and encouraged to be at those, and we're not going to be checking papers. We're never going to do that.
Can I say one thing?
Yes, please.
So in that sentence, I do mention LCAP, but I don't mention anything about the forum. So you'd like to see something, just so I'm getting this clearly, just basically emphasize that this applies to parents, that's simple.
Say families there, and I think it's in there, but a little bit more explicit would make me happier.
Makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
I agree.
Mr. Sellers, your name was on this as well. Yours was slightly different. So should we continue and finish with Ella's before we move to your version?
Yes, please. And I don't have any objection to what's been stated so far about Ms. Smith's letter. I think it's fine, and embedding the link is a good compromise, and I think it serves a purpose.
Ms. Smith, how would you like to proceed with this? There are a couple, I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4 possible, four possible changes to the letter before we post it. Do you want to, how would you like us to proceed?
I would be happy to make the changes myself and then forward it to the board and then forward it to, I guess, the proper staff and kind of get the the green light. That's what it is. But does it need a board action, like a vote to approve?
Well, we could take some board consensus right now if we're ready to say that with these changes that we've talked about tonight, we trust you to get it put together and embed it through staff and Dr. Apostle to put it on the website tonight. If we're ready to do that, we could take board consensus to move in that direction, and then I don't believe a further formal vote is necessary.
That'd be really great. Just if I guess the board could reiterate all the points that they would specifically like added in or amended.
In your second paragraph, that last sentence that is struck out should have more of the very specific information, whatever was in that legal opinion that Dr. Robertson referenced. Possibly at the beginning of the third paragraph or at the end as a separate link, a link to Superintendent Torlickson's letter specifically. In that next sentence on student and families, regardless of immigration status, should feel safe and engaged. To beef that up a little bit, to be a little more explicit. We want parents on campus. It's important.
Okay.
And the last thing there, very last thing above sincerely, is insert proper contact. Superintendent's office with Dr. Apostle's name and phone number, email. Let's get it all in there.
Okay.
And I think I've stated everything we said as a board just now. Ms. Beatty.
Well, I think the preference was that it not be, or it could be embedded and then also stand alone right below that letter. That would be my proposal. And I had proposed putting in the parent paragraph. Are we not going with that, as well as the 5 bullets?
Sorry, what parent?
The parent paragraph?
Not the full paragraph, but
Okay.
The paragraph.
Okay. And then what about the 5 bullets? And these are basically state and federal laws.
But if we have the letter linked or below, does it make sense to reiterate them?
Well, I guess, that's the question. If we, for emphasis, I mean, that's a decision to make for emphasis. If Okay, yeah, I guess that's fine if they're both links, right? Or the letter is going to be a link, and both letters will be links effectively, right, on the district website.
Or it'll be linked twice, in other words. It can be linked twice. It can be linked in the body of the letter and then at the bottom as well.
Right. I'm saying the board's letter, Ms. Smith's letter, that's a link, right? Or is it?
Well, I would hope it wouldn't be a link.
Right.
I would hope it would be.
Because normally we have boxes because there's just limited space, just on the.
Something of this importance, and I think
it's going to be.
I
so
think
it'll be
that,
somewhere.
Well, we can decide that now. How do we want that? I think it's not a link. I think this is important enough to stand alone there.
It's a page. It's
Ms. Smith?
Front page item.
May want to ask our director.
1 second. I don't know if I'm following, but one possible thing. So we have the letter that we attach as a document, and then the second, then after this letter goes Tom Torlickson's letter. So it's all one document, one PDF. Am I getting it right?
Yeah, I think what I hear, Ella, is we're going to have your letter, and I'll work with Ella on the letter. I'm following where we're going. And typically what we will do with some of these things is if people want more information, we will just put the link right at the bottom of the letter so people know and understand, here's the context. If you want more information, here is where the letter is. So it'll all be on one piece as you go through. So you can get the whole, you can choose to do the link, or we could be very happy just reading the letter. I will work with Ella on the letter, and we'll get it on the web.
Actually, I'm going to advocate for one more link. You talk about as we delve into preparing for the LCAP, and it was expressed that there's a desire to get more families to participate there. be great if there's a link to the schedule that was suggested to be put up on the Poway Unified District website of the upcoming LCAP meetings.
Okay, so I'll say probably not on this letter because those are ever-changing meetings that we get, but we will put that somewhere on the front page with all our LCAP work.
I want to make sure I look down the row and we have consensus that this is what we want and we're happy with that.
Is there going to be I assume that the district's going to create one page that is updated regularly with the LCAP forum schedule? If that's the case, then the link would stay the same between the posting of this letter and whenever the schedule changes between now and the end of the LCAP. So we can't link that within the letter itself.
And I'd like to request that that posting or that schedule link will perhaps be mentioned in the superintendent's or a district newsletter that goes out to the community.
Okay, I think we've wrapped up Ms. Smith's portion of this. Mr. Sellers.
I have drafted a resolution. What I brought forth at the last meeting was an example of one from Sacramento, City of Sacramento, that some folks might have found a little politicized. So I have tried very hard to draft a resolution that depoliticizes the issue, I hope completely. I do not find this to be in conflict with what Ms. Smith has brought forward. I actually think it's complementary. A resolution is just that. It's a statement of our resolve. And I don't think it's a bad thing to go into specific detail, as we do with everything else, about why we feel the way we do. I'm a little confused about the board's, or some of the board's reluctance to deal with resolutions. We just passed one earlier tonight regarding school counselors, but yet we found it inappropriate to do one earlier or last year regarding Dyslexia Awareness Month. I mean, all we did was recognize a designation that some other body had put forth with regard to the School Counselors Week, and that's all we were asking to do with the Dyslexia Awareness Month. So I'm at a loss to understand the distinction. So that being the case, apparently resolutions do exist in Poway Unified. I think this one would be good to treat as any other. You could, God forbid, put a link in Ms. Smith's letter to the resolution, or you could simply post it where we post all the other resolutions. I'm guessing the one that we passed tonight lays to rest in the board minutes. Is that where it if somebody wants to go read it, that's where it is? And so I don't see any reason to treat this one any differently, but I do think the formal act of actually undertaking the resolution and stating as a board, this is our resolve, is very important, because that's how boards do those things. So I would encourage everyone to take a look at this. Like I said, I have attempted to depoliticize it as much as possible, I believe completely, and see if there's anything in it that doesn't meet with your approval or that you find objectionable. And if we get past that hurdle, then we can deal with the other hurdle, which is why we don't deal with resolutions when we just passed one tonight.
Any thoughts or comments, or are we all reading? Okay, I guess I should take some time reading, and I'm disappointed that I haven't been able to make my position a little clearer for you, and I may restate that tonight if it feels appropriate, but I feel like the distinction between the school counselor resolution and this one is extreme, and I'd like to talk about it again, but I will take some time to read what you've written before I say anything. But if anyone else would like to speak, feel free.
Well, you mentioned, what my understanding was previously is that the resolutions that were okay are the ones that recognize individuals within the district. And so I don't understand the difference between addressing recognizing one of our fabulously underpaid school counselors versus a student with dyslexia. Students are people too. And so I don't understand the distinction between saying we recognize an individual resolution or a resolution involving individual achievement or performance. This is really no different. We're simply telling children with dyslexia, children of undocumented parents, or any other circumstance, that this is how we view them, just like when we say we view our school counselors with regard and esteem. That's how I see them not having a distinction.
I guess I just want to state it briefly. Our board policy 7.2 talks about recognizing individuals and organizations and employee groups who provide contributions and longstanding service to the district or for their outstanding achievement or service. It doesn't contemplate any other kind of resolution. There's absolutely nothing in our policy that says we can't. But in line with 7.2, school counselors clearly fall into that category of recognizing outstanding achievement, service, contributions to the district, whereas this is a very different kind of resolution. It just doesn't fall into that board policy. Not even close. And the dyslexia one doesn't either. That's not to say that we couldn't do it. There's no board policy about it, though. It doesn't fit into the one board policy that contemplates resolutions. And again, I think that there are a lot of important issues, and I did talk about this when the dyslexia issue came up. In fact, I read the entire thing and supported it in my board report. But again, I didn't think that it falls into our policy here. There are a lot of important issues that affect members of our Poway Unified community. I just feel like if we want to be passing resolutions all the time, we could open this up and go broader here, because our scope for recognitions, keeping it narrow, ensures that we're able to respect all of these really important challenges and contributions, celebrations by our community members, and we're not going to inadvertently leave someone out and pick and choose who's going to get a resolution and what group isn't, what celebration, what recognition is not going to happen. I don't want anyone feeling marginalized because we chose dyslexia but we ignored Down syndrome, for instance. I feel like our board policy 7.2 and keeping it to recognizing contributions and service and outstanding achievement it doesn't open the door to that kind of issue, and that's why I like it.
Well, skipping for a moment the fact that it may be time to revisit board policy 7.2.
That's not a preclusion, that policy. That's just
Right.
a limited scope addressing a limited area.
And it might need some freshening up. The thing that concerns me about this resolution and the importance of the board stating its resolve on a particular issue is that this issue has become more pertinent in the last 2 weeks since we discussed it. We all know why, but this issue that everyone felt was looming isn't looming anymore. It's become very real for a lot of very real people, and I think that there's a lot of people in our constituency who want to know how we feel about it as a board and how we're willing to act and stand behind it. And that's all I'm trying to put forth with this resolution, is to say, this is what we believe, this is how we feel about what's going on and how it affects you specifically, our students. And you can count on us to stand by what we have resolved.
Ms. Smith.
Just kind of going off of that, I suppose, how is the letter any different from the resolution? Because I feel the letter is already addressed from us as a board. They're almost synonymous to me, I suppose. And like I said, looking for board consensus. And if we sat here, we all agreed the letter's the right way to go, just a few changes to make. And if that's what we can agree on, and it essentially is going to do the same thing as the resolution. I believe that we should always be moving in a kind of a forward-thinking direction. And just from my perspective, just looking at this, no critique whatsoever, but it just kind of makes us seem stationary. Like, I just don't see what this writing would necessarily do that's innovative or new or move us in a better direction. And I feel like we do express our sentiments in the letter we just went over. Does that make sense?
I guess I would say it's a firm statement of the board, and we had a number, half a dozen or more community members come and speak in support of the resolution. These resolutions have been encouraged by the highest education officer of the state, Superintendent Tom Torlakson, to be passed throughout the state. Not only have they been passed at universities, community colleges, and school districts throughout California, but they've also been passed in a number of school districts and community colleges here in San Diego County. And a partial list includes San Marcos Unified, Sweetwater Union, San Diego Unified School District, Southwestern Community College, San Diego Community College District, Chula Vista Elementary School District, and South Bay School District. So clearly these districts that are just a small sampling here in our own county feel that this was of enough import that their boards passed resolutions. So I am in support of this resolution as an additional statement to our community of students, parents, and staff that we support you. And we will provide a safe haven so that you can feel secure in your learning environment.
Mr. Zane.
Yes, Ms. Smith, what you articulated makes complete sense. For all of the reasons that Board Member O'Connor-Ratcliffe articulated, and because I believe that the letter accomplishes what we set out to do originally as far as raising awareness and the reality of the situation, I'm not in support of the resolution, even though considerable thought was put into it to have it be as nonpartisan or non-political as possible.
Mr. Sellers.
I guess the only direct comment I have regarding Ms. Smith's comparison is that the letter that's being put forward basically says, these are what your rights are. This is what's available to you under our policies and procedures and the law. And here's a place where you can go to understand what those are. It doesn't really say what we believe or how we feel about it or what's going on. I think this resolution does that in pretty significant detail. It talks about what the members of this board stand for vis-a-vis the people that elected us, and I think that's important. And again, it's not an unusual protocol for boards to pass resolutions. I mean, you do it all the time.
I guess I disagree. I think Board Member Smith's letter is very strong and says what we feel, and we pride ourselves on our strength and our unity. The first and third paragraph address exactly what you said, and I think the entire sentiment is, well, I disagree with what you said. I'm finding it hard to understand why you would introduce something that kind of directly competes with what she's doing when it's very effective, and we've all agreed that it would be effective. Why do both?
As I said before, I don't think it competes with it or conflicts with it at all. I think it supplements it. That is my belief.
And I'll say I've been following the conversation. I haven't read it.
Okay.
In this little time. Okay. Anyone else have a comment on this? Ms. Patel, Dr. Patel, excuse me.
I am still contemplating this because I'm really torn with the needs of the district and what we, the position, the delicate position we could put ourselves in with funding, federal funding, with the line of continuing to DACA, basically, because I don't know if that's going to get us into any trouble or not with the new administration. So there is still some political element in this, and I'm concerned about that. But on the item of resolutions, I think this is a third class of resolutions altogether. I don't think it fits into the bucket of recognizing any community groups or children with needs or any initiatives, nor does it fall into the group of approved resolutions that we have. This is a completely third type of resolution that if we were to approve it, I don't think would set a precedent that you're worried about of enormous amounts of resolutions coming at us every board meeting that occupy a lot of time. I think this is a whole separate third class of resolution, and I don't think we should fear that this is going to open a door to resolutions.
Okay, with that, I guess because this is certainly this is something that requires a vote. So we need consensus, at least 3 board members who would like to put this on our next available board agenda for an official vote. I suppose this could go on our consent calendar potentially, or, you know, this could be a D or an E if there are 3 board members who would like to move this to the February 14th agenda.
I certainly would support that, and I don't think it should go on consent. I think it should be something that everybody either supports or doesn't.
I support moving this to an action item for discussion and action.
I'm looking for a third, and I think your comments may be okay. Then that's it. We'd like to, so the board is giving direction to please place Mr. Sellers' resolution.
Is it this as is?
Well, we can certainly, when we consider it on the 14th, we can certainly propose changes to it, and that's an opportunity for us to make any changes to it that we'd like, and vote it up or down at that point. That's the whole idea of putting it on a regular board agenda as a voting item. We can certainly make changes to it. Mr. Sellers, it sounds like Dr. Patel has some interest in possibly working with you on a few amendments to it. Are you interested in working with her as maybe a little subcommittee on this before you submit it to Dr. Apostle for agendizing?
Certainly, I'm happy to take any board members' input or any public members' input as well.
Okay, then if that's...
In that line, I'm still very much in support of this approach. And I think this resolution approach is just, it's harder for me.
Okay. You are the third vote to put it on the agenda.
Is it going to get easier next month?
No.
Or on the 14th?
No,
Okay.
it's not.
Then it sounds like perhaps Mr. Sellers should submit this resolution after any board member. Boy, we can't really do that outside of a board meeting. So any changes need to be between you and one other board member only. No other input except from the public, though you could take public input, but no other board member can talk to you about it outside of the board meeting.
Well, I would propose they just bring those changes to the meeting. They could even be docketed on the agenda as, you know, substitute this or that, but it should be for all the board members to see so we can see the versions being proposed. Because otherwise, you're limiting this to a few board members effectively having input. Why not?
No. Everyone gets input at the board meeting. Just prior to the board meeting, only 2 of us can discuss it at a time. So I'm just suggesting that Mr. Sellers perhaps take one board member's input in moving it onto the agenda. Or you can just move this directly to the agenda and we'll all offer comments at the February 14th meeting.
I'm happy to work with Dr. Patel offline to see if we can craft this as something that makes her a little less conflicted and bring that forward. And obviously, anything that's brought forward is subject to amendment at the board level. I'm happy to take your cards and letters. Please just send me your emails, and they will be duly considered. Thank you.
So we have a subcommittee of Dr. Patel and Mr. Sellers working on this, and they will submit something to you, Dr. Apostle, for the agenda. The rest of us take notes and hold your peace until the 14th when we talk about this as an item D. And that is it. Yes, okay, that takes us, we have no correspondence, okay, we're gonna, at this time, agenda item K, adjournment. Our next regularly scheduled board meeting will be Tuesday, February 14th, 2017, 6 p.m. right here. We'll adjourn our open session now at 8:21, and we're gonna go back into closed session, so see you all upstairs.